Before I start the end-to-end process with the creation of the target group, I need to create some master data, for example the new product or the new service that we are going to use during the process. As our new product will be internally produced and not externally procured, I also need to create the required production master data. Let's start with the creation of our new product. To do so, I go to the Workcenter product and service portfolio, which I find down here, and within the Workcenter I select the common task New Product. After the New Product screen has opened up, you see that there are various tabs where I will need to maintain different information. But before I do that, let me quickly go to the View All mode. I first need to enter the product ID, which is a unique identifier, and in case the ID would already exist, the system would inform me accordingly. So let's enter the product ID. Next, I will enter the product name, which is Solar Boiler Premium Video Training. Then I select the product category, which is Boiler Heater and Assemblies. And then the right unit of measure, which is each. The unit of measure will be used, for example, for purchasing, logistics or planning, unless a different unit of measure would be selected manually. As I do not need to enter any additional information here, let's move to the Unit of Measure Characteristics subtab. To enter some additional information here, let me at first click Add Row, again enter the Unit of Measure, which is again each, and then provide additional information. I first enter the net weight, which is 300 kilogram, then the cross weight, which is 350 kilogram, then the net volume, which is 750 liters, and then the cross volume, which is 800 liters. Now I'm done with the General tab and we can move on to the next tab, which is Purchasing. On the Purchasing tab, I can enable the product for purchasing, which means I define that a product can be externally procured. Although our product will be produced, I will activate it, just in case I might not be able to produce it and need to get it from an external source of supply. I only need to set the status from initial to in preparation and then to active to enable the product for purchasing. As this is all I need to do on the Purchasing tab, let's move to the next tab, which is the Logistics tab. On the Logistics tab, I activate the product for all logistic processes. If I would not activate it, I could, for example, not put the product in our warehouse. To enable the product, I select the related site and then set the status to active. So let's add a row, select the appropriate site, which is our Almega Heating Cleveland, and then you see the status has automatically been set to in preparation, and then we can set it to active. Below the site section you can see some advanced logistics settings. For example, I could down here define an interval for cycle count. As we do not need any of these advanced settings, I'm finished on this tab and we can move on to the next tab, which is the Planning tab. On the Planning tab, I enable the product for a specific planning area. At first I select the planning area, and I do this by clicking Add Row and then select the right planning area, which is again our Almega Heating Cleveland. After I have selected the planning area, I can define additional details. I start with the selection of the planning group. And as I'm currently creating the finished product, I also select the planning group finished products. Next, I define the procurement type. As we will produce our new product, I select the procurement type in-house production. After this, I define a planning procedure for our product. As we want to plan our new product based on the demand, I will select the planning procedure Demand-Driven Planning. At last, I define the lot sizing method, which is lot for lot. As I have defined all relevant planning details, I can now set the status to active and move to the next tab, which is Availability Confirmation. On the Availability Confirmation tab, I define how the checking of the availability of our product is done. At first I select the planning area, which is the same than in the planning step. So let's add a row and select the right planning area. And as I said, this is again Almica Heating Cleveland. Then I can define additional details for the planning area. At first I define the availability check scope. This defines based on which information the availability confirmation should be done. It could either be done only on the stock of the product, also within a specific horizon, or also take into consideration different receipts like purchase or production orders. For our product, I select stock and all receipts within horizon. Then I define the horizon within the receipts should be considered, which is 5 days. But I also define a replenishment lead time, which is 8 days. Now I can set the planning area to active and continue with the next tab, which is sales. On the sales tab, I define the distribution chain for our new product. To do so, I determine the responsibility sales organization as well as the different distribution channels for our new product. So at first I need to click Add Row, select the right sales organization, which is Sales Heating, and then select the distribution channel, which is Indirect Sales. Then I need to define the details for the newly created distribution channel. As the sales unit of measure has already been pre-filled, I only need to select the item group, which is required for creating and processing sales and service documents. From the drop-down list, I select Norm for standard and delivery-based products, and then I can activate the distribution chain. Besides the direct sales, I also want to define indirect sales as second distribution channel for our new product. So again, I need to add row, select again Sales Heating as sales organization, but this time I select indirect sales as distribution channel. Again, I need now to maintain the details for distribution chain. Unit of measure has already been pre-filled, so I only need to select the item group, which is again Norm. After that, I can set the distribution chain to active, and I'm now done with the sales tab and can continue to the next tab, which is the Valuation tab. The Valuation tab is the last tab that I need to maintain for our new product. At first, I click Add Row and select the company and the business residence. Afterwards, I need to define the details for the selected company and business residence. I start with the definition of the account determination group, which defines the rules that determine which accounts are used for automatic posting. And as we are currently creating our new finished end product, I also use finished products as the account determination group. Next, I need to define the perpetual cost method. This is required in order for the material to be posted into financial accounting. I can choose between standard, which means inventory cost is a constant predetermined value, and moving average. With this method, inventory cost is the average of the current inventory value and all receipts of the material into inventory. For our new product, I will use standard. After I've defined this, I can now enter the costs for our new end product. As you can see here, there are two sets of books active, which I need to maintain the costs. This multi-valuation is an important financial capability of Business ByDesign, and I will talk about that more in detail when we have reached the financial management part of the end-to-end process. So let's first maintain the cost for the set of book US GAAP, and I do that by selecting the set of book and click Edit Cost. And here on the screen I can edit the cost, which are 350, then click OK, and then I select the second set of book, which is IFRS, again click Edit Cost, and also enter the cost, which is 350. Now I can set the status to active and save the new created product, which finished the creation of our new end product that we will sell to the customer. Next, I need to create one of the sub-products that is part of our Solar Boiler Premium as well as our Energy Check service. As the creation of those two is pretty similar to what you just saw, let me finish that and you can rejoin me when I'm done. There are only two things I would like to point out. First, that the sub-product, that the Solar Heater Premium, will be externally procured, and that our Energy Check project will be a fixed price project. With that, let me quickly create the product and the service, and I'll be back momentarily.
Welcome back. As you can see, I created an additional product, the Solar Heater Premium, which is a component of our end product, the Solar Boiler Premium. In addition, I also created the Energy Check service. And let me quickly show you that. To do so, I go to the Product and Service Portfolio Work Center. In here, I select Services, and then I need to search for our service. And as you can see, here we have our Energy Check service video training.